It's your time.
Yeah.
It's your time. It's your time.
It's time.
It's your time. It's your time. It's your time. It's your time. It's your time.
Just be the one you would call on.
What are you waiting for?
Do for yourself. Just be that force. If you can see it now, you'll be self-actualized.
What are you waiting for?
We are the visionaries.
It's your time. It's your time. It's your time.
Have you lost your way?
It's your time. It's your time. It's your. What are you waiting for?
Let's think. What is inside of you? What are you? Why keep praying? Why keep begging? Stop begging. Why keep waiting? Why only leads to more confusion? So just be. Be that which you call upon. Be that which you wait upon. You are the self-actualized Savior. You. Nothing is flying in the sky, waiting to come and do the work that you came to the planet to do. You be Haru. You be Ma'at. You be Seta. You be Asor. You be Oset. You be Sobek. You be Shango. You be Oshun. You be Yemosha. You be Oduduwa. You be Obatala. You be Iyami. You be Eshu. You be Ogun. You be Oya. You be Nanan Buruko. You be Shiva. You be Apollo. You be Krishna. You be Kepra. You be Ganesha. You be Dionysus. You be Hermes. You be Hanuman. You be Tahuti. You be Anpu. You be Brahma. You be Pan. You be Zeus. You be Vishnu. You be Hercules. You be Kali. You be Kuan Yin. You be Buddha. You be Rudra. You be Christ. You be Krishna. You be Shiate Wiles. You be Sintala Ndoki. You be Lucero. You be Ilegba. You be Ursuli Danto. You be Ursuli Freda. You be Dambala. You be Ayuedo. You be Lavaline. You be Azaka. You be Granbois. You be Lasarine. You be Cindy. You be the Ogan. You be the Mambo. You be Ran Ibo. You be Man Brigitte. You be Baron Samedi. You be Masala Flamble. You be the Petro. You be the Rada. You be Agwe. You be Marasa. You be Orisha Oko. You be Gemini. You be Shu. You be Tefnut. You be Geb. You be Nut. You be Set. You be Nebuchadnezzar. You be Kansu. You be Kunum. You be Min. You be Minchu. You be Mut. You be Nefertim. You be Nebuchadnezzar. You be Net. You be the Netcha. You be the Netter. You be the Noon. You be Patah. You be Amun Ra. You be Sekhmet. You be Serket. You be Seshat. You be the supreme. You be the all-encompassing intelligence. You be the Ori. You be the Ka. You be the Ba. You be Allah. You be the Christ. You be the 13th zodiac. Go through the center and be. Wow.
It's your time. 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 It's your what are you waiting for? It's your time. It's your time. It's your time.
On this song about self-actualization, I give it to my Egun. Grandma, you are the glue that keeps both sides of my family together. I'm thankful. Grandpa, you are the consummate Ogun. You are the strength of my family. You are the iron will of my own imagination. I will lose my conscious thought and go into the realm of actualization. I share.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're waiting for the ones in the chat, but welcome. Surprise! It says study session with Chief Yuya, but you are going to be doing your study session this evening with the entire house. Well, the women, that is. We have a really interesting session planned for you, but first, since some of us have not been on in a while, I'm going to go to Yafe and the other sisters.
Peace. This is from the house.
Right. Okay, so we're moving right on. So today this evening, we're gonna open up our Sabbath with a story. Something that we like to do, right? Out of the law, down dirty tricks. We're sorry, and we're sorry for the CP time. We had to get ready. We had to make sure we was right for all of y'all. But we have something really, really special planned. So give thanks, everyone, for signing in. I see the one in the chat, so give thanks, and I'm seeing that you can hear us. So today we are going to focus on a part of the story of 12 tribe, right? Something that affected the children or the sons of Yaqub, and also including his daughter. And this discussion, this build today, is going to focus on, something that Chief Yuya goes over a lot, and that's the concept of tribe and the importance of tribe and how we should be moving like a tribe. So we're going to do some reading, we're going to do some Hebrew, we got some questions. So to give you the backstory, I'll start with the backstory. So as I said, this is about Yaqub and his children, all of his children at this point. And the story set up, because as Chief always says, we have to know who's speaking, who's being spoken to, and what's the dispensation, right? So what's happening at the time. And so what's happening before this story is important. So we figured we would give you the background and then go into the story. And some of the sisters are going to read and take you through. So this is out of Bereshit. And for those of you who might be new or a little, shaky on the Hebrew, Bereshit is Genesis. So we'll be reading out of Bereshit 34 or Genesis 34. So, find your books, find the words so you can keep up. So as you're thumbing through, I'll just give you the background to the story. So this is Yaqub. And so this is when he is traveling with his family. He has just finished kind of piecing it up with Esau. As you know, they had a rift because Yaakov did something very foul, foul. And so now this is years later. Yaakov has his 13 children, his two wives and two concubines, and a whole heap of servants, and he has a tribe following him. And so they've just now parted ways with Esau and are headed to Canaan. They're headed to the land of Canaan, right? So they do stop through a place that is called Sukkot, where he builds, he puts up a building for cattle, and then they move forward, and then they find themselves in the land of Salem, which is the land of Hamor, which we'll get into in the story. And then, but this is also part of the land of Canaan. And we'll talk about that a little later. So now they find themselves there, and there are people, there are people living there. And so they purchased land from these people, and they settled in this place. So Akoti is going to start us off in sheet 34. And we're
all right. There's sheet 34. All right. I'm going to make sure everybody has found their way to the chat. If you could, maybe put a 2 in the chat and let me know that you got your place and you're ready. I don't want to rush it. All right. Nobody's saying anything. I'm assuming. Okay. All right. All right. And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which she bare unto Yaakov, went out to see the daughters of the Heths. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her and lay with her and defiled her. And his soul clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Yaakov, and he loved the damsel and spake kindly unto the damsel. And Shechem spake unto his father Hamor, saying, Get me this damsel to wife. And Yaakov heard that he had defiled Dinah, his daughter. Now his sons were with the cattle in the field, and Yaakov held his peace until they were come. And Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out unto Yaakov to commune with him.
The sons of Yaakov came in from the field when they heard it. The men were grieved, and they were very angry, because he had done folly in Israel, and laying with Yaakov's daughter, which thing ought not to be done. Hamor talked with them, saying, The soul of my son Shechem longs for your daughter. Please give her to him as a wife. Make marriages with us. Give your daughter to us, and take our daughters for yourselves. You shall dwell with us, and the land will be before you. Live and trade in it, and get possessions in it. Shechem said to her father and to her brothers, Let me find favor in your eyes, and whatever you would tell me, I will give. Ask me a great amount for a dowry, and I will give whatever you ask of me, but give me the young lady as a wife.
And the sons of Yaakov answered Shechem and Hamor, his father, deceitfully, and said, Because he had defiled Dinah, their sister. And they said unto them, We cannot do this thing to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised, for that were a reproach unto us. But in this will we consent unto you, if you will be as we, that every male of you be circumcised. Then will we give our daughters unto you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people.
Okay, so the first question is, we're going to see that magically pop up for y'all.
Yeah, so the first question we actually wanted to ask was, what have you taken from the story so far? What did you pull from this story? Mm-hmm. And at this point, everyone should have scripture out, and you should be, looking through scripture and share as quickly as you can some of the things that pop out to you. And what we'll do is we'll go back to the very first section of the story and just start building from there.
Mhm. Okay. So, Akoti Margie, this was your part. So we see Dinah and Leah and Yaakov. Um, again, we know that they've entered into the land of Canaan, and it looks like they are around some Hivites, right? We see they are out meeting the women, the daughters. They're seeing the daughters of the land in Haaretz, as you said. And they meet Sakem and Hamor, the son of Hamor, the Hivite. And he's the prince of this country. And he does something. Val.
So I think just off rip, there are some things that I just questions that came to mind. And I guess it's just that idea of the daughter just kind of roaming, and how was she able to be, I guess, or get caught up with Shakim? That was like a question that came to mind. Um, and just why didn't she know what to do? Maybe when she met a guy who probably was not of her tribe. Um, those were questions that came to mind. So I wondered if anybody else had any questions or anything that they're curious about as they're like going through the story. But those were a few things that I was like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of the things that actually stood out was, just how things happen in reverse, right? So it's clear that they're in a land where these are not people of the way, right? The culture is different, right? They're Hivites, so Hivites, right? I think so. And Hivites are Canaanites, right? They're from the land of Canaan. So it just made me think of the difference in culture. And I think we mentioned that earlier too. Like, was she aware of who she was surrounded by and the difference in culture? Because one of the things I found was noteworthy was that, it's kind of said she went out to meet the daughters of the land. So she went to mingle and socialize and greet the other daughters of that land.
Mm-hmm. And we do have something to chat. I thought that this seems like a very good piece to chew and build on. But before we get to it, Akoti Sequoia, did you have something you wanted to share?
I was gonna share what Master.
Okay, have at it. Go ahead.
Okay.
He said Dinah was interacting with daughters with other nations uncovered. So, yes. So I was thinking about her father, Yaakov. I was like, where was he?
Right.
And I also think about like the purpose and the reason why he went to their land in the first place. And from what I read, it was to erect a place for the Elohai. That's what I read in the chapter before. So I was just wondering, like, okay, it seemed like they came with a purpose, but why was the daughter like uncovered and roaming around in that land? And so I just think about the mission. What was the mission? And was she being disobedient, just not listening, or what happened there? So.
And then, I mean, even him bringing up the point about not being, she was uncovered. I think about, let's say if you are out and you don't have said brother or father with you, it seems like that law, whatever law the father has laid down, would follow you, even if you're not in their presence. So that's something to kind of just think about. You're talking about moving as a tribe and carrying that with you no matter where you go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I thought about the brothers because they would also be like an extension of the father and could serve as a covering. So it kind of goes back to like there's all these men, relatives, not blood relatives, family around. You're with your tribe. So why were you moving around in that fashion? And just thinking like, how many times like do we move around in that way, thinking like, oh well, it's all good. Like even as women, like, well, I'm just hanging out, I'm hanging out with other women. But what kind of spaces are those other women coming from in those mindsets? So it just kind of made me go, in that direction. Like just because it is other women it doesn't mean that you still may not be putting yourself in danger. And then I see like Master Manual like put like her name means judgment, and I immediately like thought was like, well, she had poor judgment in this case.
Well, I would say only because it says Shakim saw her, he took her and lay with her and defiled her. So I'm wondering if was this he wanted something, it was kind of like forced, or like, no, I'm gonna have you, or because it seems like he was the one that was like kind of like, no, you did something wrong, like when the brothers like approached him like, yeah, you
Oh, he
Yeah.
did he violated her. He
Violated.
He did. The question is like, yes, she was out with the women, but these are not women who are in your tribe. So even still, she should never have been moving around uncovered, so that there was, any opportunity for something like that to happen. Because those women are with who? They're with their men.
And it makes you think, I don't know about you all, but why her of all the women? What did he see in her that was different, I guess, in a sense, to make him pick her out of all the other women? That's something.
They were she was different.
Yeah.
Was it the way she wrapped her hair or what? You know what I mean? Like, those are questions that come up. And then even further down where I thought it was interesting when Yakub, where it said when he found out, he held his peace because his sons were out in the field. So it's like, I don't know if that was like maybe I can't hold it down by myself right now. I got to wait till my sons come, or, but I just thought that was interesting as well, too.
Yeah, because it says until they were come, so it's almost like, let's wait for one Simeon. But there's also another word here that I think it's defiled, is tameh. I was looking at, just the Hebrew word meaning foul, so it is like you're taking someone into marriage, because sex is marriage, right? So, but against their will and against what their culture identifies as the right way to do things,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It when you said that, it reminded me of this segment on menstruation, the righteous way. Because when we talk that tamea, it's a root for it's that root for unclean. When so like he did something like that was unclean. He made her unclean in that moment. And at the same time, again, like I think about like, do we put ourselves either intentionally or unintentionally in situations where we can be defiled or made unclean, or something foul can happen to us?
I think about what it says in verse 8, and Hammer commune with them, saying, the soul of my son Shakim longed for your daughter. I pray you give him to wife. So when it said his soul longed, I wonder like how did it become so deep for him, where he's like, no, like I have to have this woman. So, and they seemed like his father came like, how can we do this in a way where we can make this happen? Like they didn't, they seemed like they were trying to, what Jacob held his peace and waited for them to come. So it seems like they were trying to come and correct something that they, did wrong, but how they came and approached him, like, we got to show that respect and come,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my God, the thought just ran out of my head.
We have some more in the chat.
We do. It's like going off. It was something that you said. I wanted to. Oh gosh, it'll come back to me. Let's go to the chat.
You have one?
Oh, I remember what it was. Well, go ahead. Right. Dude laid with her and then asked his father to negotiate a marriage, which also speaks to the difference in culture. Right. It was like forgiveness and then permission, or forgiveness, ask for forgiveness rather than permission, like, let's just do it first and then we'll figure it out later, And it takes me back to what you just said, Akoti, about the soul. And the word used there in scripture is actually nefesh. And there's other words for soul but nefesh also is like connected to like emotion, like deep emotion. So it was like he really wanted her. It was like that emotional, which is based on feeling and then a thought. So like, yeah, it might have been like, oh, he feels it in his soul. It's like, I feel it all in my soul, feel it all in my feet. Yeah, he was feeling it, all right. That's what it feels good. That's what it was, So
Right.
it was a very deep, like emotional, and possibly physical, like response.
But are you saying, like, is that the case when anybody says, like, okay, that came from my soul? Is it that coming from that emotional place?
No, just in this, because the word used for soul in this particular verse is nefesh, and those are some of the meanings tied to that word. So yeah, I wouldn't generalize it in that way.
For some reason, I'm going back to verse 3 where it says his soul clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Yaqub, and I think about early on in Bereshit when it talks about like when when a man finds his wife, like they're gonna cleave and become one. So I wondered, like, is that is it more so related to that? Like maybe that was his wife. Like once he went into the house, because we know daughter is Bait, and I think about in order to become a wife, you have to have the spirit of the Most High first within you, and then that man can come into you and he becomes your husband. So I'm tying all of that together, and I'm like, okay, his soul clave to her, and he loved the damsel and spoke kindly unto the damsel. So maybe he knew, like, okay, this is my wife.
Yeah, it could have been some of that too. Because who asked the question like, what was wrong with the other women? And it's like, but she was different. There was something different about her. So that could have been some of it too.
Maybe she had the spirit of the Most High in her.
Maybe. Well, I don't know. I'm not gonna say that because she was moving around uncovered. So I'm not gonna say. I don't know. Doesn't do what she knows she was supposed to do. So.
Right. Well, Michael says that uncovered is without covering spiritually, physically, emotionally, financially, culturally, sexually, etc.
You just skipped over Anu Radio's comment. Like it just didn't even matter.
I didn't see I knew Ray. I am so sorry. Yaqub waited until his sons were near to confront the violation. But why? Like that's the question. Like why? You know what I mean?
That's his tribe. Can you tell us? Well, that's his tribe. Sometimes when you might be outmanned, but we have a brother who could give us maybe some of that perspective from others' point of view.
Peace, Aki Zach.
Shalom. This is a pleasant surprise. And I feel very safe in here because, Chief makes us nervous sometimes. So I feel safe to share. Hey, y'all ever seen that? It was a while ago. This dude his woman stepped out on him, and he was so mad. He was like, "You going to hell for being a hoe." Oh, gosh. It was a while ago. I don't remember what he called her. At any rate, that is what came to mind when I started thinking of Dinah, right? But I think what stood out for me is when you have a tribe, you have a culture. And when you step outside of that, you might be dealing with people who don't have any rules. And when they don't have any rules or they don't have any structure, then it's sure to bring things like this, where, we do things like backwards, where we're down with patriarchy. We're down with misogyny. We can look at the culture now that says we don't have any rules, but then when we run into problems, we try to apply the rules that we wanted to get away from, thinking that it would work, but it's not going to work because you stepped outside of that.
So when y'all are speaking about one being uncovered, now you are no longer covered from that umbrella of that culture that says this is the way that we do things and this is the structure of how we move. That will keep one safe from certain things like this. Because so many times, even if we start to look at it today, a woman will lay with somebody just because he has, you know, nice locks or big waves and, you know, a 17-inch penis. And then all of a sudden, when it's time to be responsible for what came after you have laid down with this person, then all of a sudden you see he's a bum. Well, did you go about it the right way that tells you this is the culture and how we start to maneuver? Did you start to, you know, did you have a courting? Did you even see what this person was about, as opposed to, I'm just going to go out to the club tonight and I'm just going to be free and I'm going to let, I see the other sisters over there and they look like they're going to have a good time. And they telling me, you know, girl, you being oppressed. You don't got to do all of that. You know, we go over here and we do our own thing. And so she get out there and start moving and grooving. And the next thing you know, you have totally, you messed up the church's money. You messed up the church's money. And now I got to go get everybody else involved. And I got to put them in to come defend your honor when you had none for us the entire time. You wanted to go do your own thing. So now somebody now has to sacrifice something. Somebody now has to bleed. And then you got to listen to this sob story from this dude who says, oh, you know, just, you know, I'll pay a dowry. I'll do whatever. Come on, man. Come on, man. So yeah, that was my first initial thoughts when I was listening to the story, or reading the story and then listening to y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Toda Rabba Akizak, I'm curious, like, if you were Yakub, how would you have responded? And then if you were one of the brothers, how would you have responded to this situation?
Oh man. So that's, you know,
You still feel safe, Aki?
interestingly enough, I mean, your first initial gut reaction is, let's say if that's my sister. So I'm supposed to defend my sister. However, if I keep defending my sister, making these decisions, will she learn that I should not be making these certain decisions? At some point, somebody has to learn that if I keep making these decisions, I'm going to have to live with the consequences of my decisions. So if you want to step outside from underneath this umbrella, then jackals are going to tear your butt up. So now then, whatever, don't come calling and being like, oh, you know, he ain't treating me right, or oh, there's no structure in this family, and you know, I keep reaching, or I keep calling back and saying, oh yeah, how should we handle this situation, because he's not applying anything, or he doesn't really have anything for me. Well, you didn't listen. So because you didn't listen, like my nephew always say, that's what you get. That's what you get. Like, you're gonna have to live out your consequences of your decisions that you made. And you know, interestingly enough, I was talking to Chief about this the other day. It's like sometimes tough love is needed, where you have to let one go and see, you know what? Yeah, I'm screwing up, and I'm screwing up to the point where now I'm putting everybody else in a situation that they should not have to be in because I want to step out and do my own thing. So, as much as I would be like, yes, that's my sister, that's family, and I gotta go out and. At the same time, I gotta, as my mom would say, I love you, but I love you enough to let you go. I gotta let it go and do a thing and let you figure it out. And maybe next time when you get another chance, then you can come back and figure it out.
Toda. Now, if you were Father Jacob or Yakub, how would you handle it?
Hey,
Same
man,
thing.
Unfortunately, your daughter is for the streets at this point.
Oh gosh.
I mean,
Oh no.
goodness gracious. All you can do is look at it and see where I went wrong, and maybe I don't do it, you know, let the next one do the same thing that this one did. I mean, there's no way. What do you want, to try to sit down and counsel somebody? What you just did, you're not getting that back. That's gone. That's done. Like, sometimes we make certain decisions in our lives that we think that we can recover from, but you're not recovering from that. You're going to have to own that and live with that the rest of your life. So now this is what happens from the decision that you made. Now you can say, you know, you don't love me, you never loved me, or, you know, this is not you can go through the whole list of things, but at the end of the day, it's called being accountable. And I remember when we was in a session a long time ago, it's like Chief was breaking down with an accountant. You have to be accountable for every cent in the books. It's not like, oh, I wasn't, you know, that's when people start running down certain stories and they say, you know, by the time I get done telling this story, I'm going to look like a saint. It wasn't me. This man was running game on me and he did, no, you have to be accountable for you stepped out of here. And now you're going to have to live with that decision. I'm turning her over. Hey, man. Yeah, you're gonna have to. They used to have shotgun weddings. Yeah, you're gonna pay me for this, man, and then we gonna move on. It is what it is. That's what I could be off, but it is what it is at this point. Because who now am I going? We talk about being culture. How can I rightfully then say, hey, man, I think you should marry my daughter? And then they, oh, okay, is she in alignment with what we? Now, am I supposed to lie? Or am I supposed to, well, she did have a run-in where, you know, some dude outside knocked her down, but that's her past. And you know what? She's cleansed. She did a yoni steam cleaning, and you know, she's good to go.
Okay. Go ahead.
It seems like in this case, the killing father, Hamor, was asking Yaakov, like, can we, like, be a part of your nation? Like, they want to, like, intermingle. Like, he was asking, like, can we, you know, marry your daughters and you marry ours? Can we, like, he's, like, seems like he's coming on that. Like, I want to be, like, a part of what y'all, I want to, like, be family, it seems. So if someone came to you was asking, like, well, we want to be family, well, how do we want to intermingle? Like, what would you say?
Man, what's that Chief song? He got superior spirit. When you hear it, you feel it. Like, if you come from a pedigree that is of upper echelon, you trying to pull along somebody that ain't of the same breed. It's just not gonna work, right? And you went out and did something. Now all of a sudden you got to pull somebody along. We're not the same. We're not the same. I can't breed a wolf with a chihuahua and think that now all of a sudden our line is gonna still somehow be pure. It's not. Show me the lady. You got papers for dogs. Show me the papers on this before I make a purchase, knowing that this is a purebred dog. I need papers for these families. Show me these papers, man. And if it's not in alignment, then I'm not. It's just gonna bring on too many different problems. You're gonna start to take on other people's issues. When now you trying to bring, because ultimately you're joining houses. So now whatever this house's problem is, it's gonna become your problem. And if you want to avoid that, well then now you better make right decisions. Like it says in Our New Way, the two greatest decisions somebody will ever make in their life is one, what God they choose to serve, and the second one is who they choose to mate with. That's a serious decision that one would have to make, that you're now going to bring somebody else into the fold and then now cause everybody else to start to try to hold them up.
Yeah. So when it comes to tribe, because then there's the other side, I don't know if it's the other side of the coin or just like the other part that happened as well. It goes to like watching who you move around, who you live around, because they came into that land. Those people were already there. So that it makes me think like when we're number one, the importance of being set apart, right? And even if you are like, you can be set apart and still have neighbors, but then how do you set those boundaries? Like, this is how we live, and these are, you know, we can be friendly. Because also the Anu Way says like we're supposed to make things better for even those people that live around us, right? So it's like, how do you do that without compromising? And that's not just for you. That's everybody in the chat.
Oh, okay.
In the chat. Well, you go ahead.
All right, cool. So you know what? One of my favorite movies is The Lion King. Right?
Oh,
I mean, these are movies with stories and gifts that just keep on giving. And it reminds me of the dawning lesson that Mufasa had with Simba. When he was like, show me, you know, like, come on, show me what's going on. And he takes him over there. Let's go, team. But it was the dawning lesson where he was like, all right, you know, all of this is mine. And he's like, yeah, all of this is, but there's more to being a king than just getting your way. And he showed him the Pride Land. He showed him, this is how things move. What about that dark, gray, shadowy area over there? Don't go over there. That's not where you're supposed to go. But then it started to, oh no, I don't, I'm a king and I can go wherever. No, that's not how this works. I'm telling you, do not go over there. You got all of this room to run free and be you and, live a great life. And now he started to, then all of a sudden it kicked in and, I want to go to the water hole. What's at the water hole? I'll show you when we get there. And goes all the way over there. And now all of a sudden you're putting people's lives in danger. You are putting people's lives in danger when you want to procreate with somebody who is living a different culture. That somebody has now told you, yes, I'm going to show you a standard. Yes, I'm going to always be kind and generous. At the same time, though, I know if you are not serving the same Elohim that I'm serving, and if we're not on the same page, it's not going to work. Now, that doesn't mean that I can't show you a way. I can show you an example, but at the same time, when we're supposed to actually come together and procreate, that's not going to work. And we see many examples of it on a day in and day out basis of people trying and failing. Oh yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. Heck, so many people will still get married in a Western sense, knowing is a 50 to 60% chance that this is not going to make it to the destination. You ask them any other time, would you get on this flight? And if they told you there's a 50 to 60% chance it's not going to make it to wherever it is you're trying to go, it's going to crash and burn. You know what? I think I'll do something else. But then when we talk about culture, though, and there's really no rules, now all of a sudden nobody wants to ask for any alternatives. I'm going to still do this because that's just the way it's always been. But when you don't have any rules and regulations and you start to commingle with this, then bad company's going to corrupt. You can't hang around 4 people. I'm going to say this and then I'm done because I feel like I'm getting long with it. You can't hang around 4 people who are idiots and think that you're gonna, and even when people be trying to say, I ain't done. 1 second. So even when people be trying to say, oh, when you're healed, you attract a lot of broken people. All of this foolishness that people be trying to say so that they now justify their situation of why now they're not actually leveling up. And instead of saying, you know what, I got to hang around better company. There's so many times people say, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. If you are the one that you feel like, I'm the only one healed in here, and ain't somebody else is, and you feel like you're at the top, but yet you still live in the same culture that everybody else lives, we have a problem. There's a huge problem, and you're not actually in alignment with where one is supposed to be starting to walk to or move towards. So, yeah, I'm gonna end it like that.
Okay. Okay. That's Amelia. What you got? Hello, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. This is a mess situation. But I think it's interesting that Yaakov held his peace because, for better or worse, she was his responsibility. And she got caught up. And then her brothers were supposed to be a covering too. But somehow she got out around the daughters of the land. And when dude caught her and did his thing, it's like, before, I think it was a very tribal thing to do. He didn't act immediately. He waited until all the other men were present for them to decide how they were going to act. And because of the wording of it, I don't know, we didn't get as far as the retribution or the get back. We just talking about what do we do.
Yeah.
I think we blame Simeon and Levi exclusively, but I'm not sure if it was just them or if they were the ones who kind of turned it up a notch based on how it was worded. But in terms of just the tribal aspect, like, what do you do when someone who's around you, who you're not supposed to be mingling with, they're like, oh, well, we'll marry your daughters, you marry our daughters, it'll be like quid pro quo, you got a little give and take going on. You don't know what we value. All y'all know is what y'all value, or rather what your son values, right? We didn't talk about having any, because they bought land from them, right? So we had negotiations before. Daughters wasn't in that. So that wasn't on the table.
It wasn't a part of the contract.
So you took her first, and then you're like, well, like I already cracked the seal on the Snapple, so I guess I get to drink it. You know, and you might as well just swap Snapples. You know, it doesn't really make sense from a negotiation standpoint, or we're gonna have a relationship standpoint. Because the chief always tells us to watch like the first contact between people. You didn't even respect us enough to know that, or to ask about marriage beforehand. Because if you ask your father to negotiate marriage, then you understand that this is something that you actually do need permission for. So it's like, I'll take it first, and then I'll go and try to be respectful afterwards, which, like, you foul. You're not supposed to do that. So if you do that after the fact, how am I supposed to have any type of respectful negotiation with you?
Mm-hmm.
It kind of breaks it down. It's similar to in the book of Joshua, where this is after like Jericho and after the Rahab situation, and Israel is just taking land. And I think it was the Gibeonites who were just like, well, we traveled from this far off place, and see, we got moldy bread, which in like they were like a couple cities over, but they made it seem like they went on this long journey because they heard about the Most High and they wanted to get down with Israel. Come to find out, they're like couple cities over, and they left with moldy bread. So it's like they already came to deceive because they wanted to be a part of this nation. And I was also thinking about just how they must have looked to other nations. Because even with Yaqub, when he left Lavan, when he left his house, he left with all kinds of cattle. He left with all kinds of children. You know, he had a couple of servants. He had a lot of stuff. Even when he met up with Esau, and he's like, whose are these? Like, and he's like, oh, these are mine. You know, so y'all got all this stuff. And it's like, yo, like, we got to get down with them. You know, so it's not just, but it seemed like an afterthought, honestly. Like, I just want this one. But, you know, maybe we could work something out after you violate it. So it was like, nah. You know. So in terms of what I would have done as a brother, probably the same thing Simeon and Levi did. Honestly. You know, what I would have done as a father, I'm not sure, because that's my fault that she was even in that position as a covering. And that's her fault for coming from underneath the covering. So dude took someone who was just up for grabs. She shouldn't have even been an option. He could have grabbed one of the other daughters. You know, so it's on Lavan and it's on her coverings as well as her. You know, it's not just the dudes out here being wild. You got to expect other nations to be wild and not have the same culture that you do. But she knew better, and they knew better because they're in a strange land.
Yeah.
Hold on. So you saying you gonna go confront the dude and be like, hey man, that's my sister. Is that what you're saying?
They did more than that.
In that situation, if I was upset and I didn't have no maturity about me, yeah, like I'm cool because it didn't happen to me and it didn't happen to my sister. But if it was in the moment, I probably wouldn't have cared who it was.
So you would go put your life on the line for somebody who just stepped out, knowing they had no business going that direction.
If I was being emotional about it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
why. Okay, so what
yeah.
what would you do today? That's what we ask.
Today,
Let me
I'm thinking. This is a rape scenario.
It
Right,
is.
man. This is someone being taken, right?
Whoa. Help me understand how this is a rape scenario.
he defiled her. He took her. She was out, and some ex saw her, and his soul was just kind of clinging to her. And
That was after he got the box.
He defiled her.
Defiled means rape, or defiled means you laid with somebody and they gave you, it was consensual sex.
I take took as rape.
Yeah.
Someone took someone.
Mm-hmm.
Like
And
if
it
I
says
came to you,
her.
if it said I went inside of Zach's room and I took his money, does it mean that I stole it?
Well, how'd you get in my room?
Your money was on the floor. That's the messed up part about it.
So did I let you in?
Nah, but I still took it.
So then you, oh, but see, no. How did he get access to her?
She was out in the open. But if you drop your wallet on the floor and I got your wallet and you see me with your wallet and I'm saying I'm Zach Latimer, here's my receipt. Here's my driver's license. You see it look like me. I just shaved my beard. And I'm going to charge this card. Yeah, you could just tap it. Don't worry about the code. Just tap it. And you see me spending your money. Are you going to be like, well, you found my wallet outside. What can I do? I'll just take the L.
I'm saying if you found my wallet, then and I dropped it out of my pocket when somebody told me not to go in certain directions, I have to own that.
Mm-hmm. But if you see the guy who took your wallet, are you going to let him keep it?
Well, yeah, you can keep that card. I'll just get another one.
What if he came to you and he said, listen, I took your wallet and I spent some of your money. You might as well let me keep it. Let's just work out a deal.
I can get some more money.
If you let him keep your identity.
You're not keeping my identity. It will be a fake identity.
But I'm saying it's a deal. We're just working something out.
No, because then that removes accountability from myself. I can't blame this person. So where is my accountability in all of this?
I'm not saying you can't say, well, you spent the money and I take the L. But he's saying he's keeping your identity. So I will be using this in the future.
I think I would need to know if she was raped. Even if she was raped. It's like your first line of defense, though, is listening. Like, where did you put yourself in harm's way? That's like the old videos when somebody would try to take a self-defense class. Well, your first self-defense is your culture and what you have been taught, as opposed to if I walk down this street, now I know jujitsu. So when that jujitsu don't work, then I can go back and now charge the teacher?
If the jujitsu don't work, you could go back and charge the teacher?
Yeah, is that the teacher to blame? Or was it the person who told me, nah, you shouldn't be going in this direction?
Nah, the person who went in that direction wasn't supposed to was the blame.
So now I go kill the person, even though I told this person, don't go over there.
So you're saying if they died and that's their business, leave them alone?
No, I'm saying that if you go over there where you weren't supposed to go, then that is on you.
Mm-hmm.
You got to own that.
Okay.
Why do people have to die now because you don't want to listen?
So what do you do as the covering? Just make another one?
Why? Let her go. That's where she chose to go. I hope you like it over there.
Mm. So you're saying in the terms of them saying I want to marry her, just leave her alone and let her go. And let that be the end of it.
Okay, so then let's say we do
I'm
the
not
opposite.
even asking that as an argumentative thing. I'm saying in terms of, in this case, to prevent further bloodshed and to prevent further violation, would it be wiser to let her go and let her stay on that side as opposed to instigating anything further and escalating it?
I think it's a matter of if somebody, does your community look weak if somebody has taken, but then they didn't come into your community. She walked out there.
They moved into their community, so they was already surrounded.
And she walked out there.
Yeah.
That's true. Both are true.
I'm just saying, like, what should come next in terms of like thinking tribally and thinking about the safety of everyone else. Like, she already was disobedient, and I think Simeon and Levi was disobedient too, in terms of they acted without the consent of the rest of the tribe. You know, because Jacob came afterwards and he reprimanded them. You know, and he said, you're causing my name to stink among the inhabitants of the land. So like, you making me look bad. You know, so it's not bad enough that my daughter was taken, but I also got unruly sons.
So are you? So what is it? The fault of the father who moved them to the community?
Nah, I'm asking in terms of like, you in that position now. How do you prevent it from getting worse as the patriarch of the tribe? That's what I was wondering. Because I was just answering the question, like, how would you react? That's probably how my reaction would be realistically. But in terms of the wisest thing, like, the response is something different in terms of what's the wisest way to respond. Jacob didn't say nothing immediately, and he waited until his sons came home. So I thought it was interesting that he waited until they came on, and so that they could make a decision as a group. At least I'm assuming it was so they can make a decision as a group. But he didn't immediately react, and he was like, no or yes.
It sounds like he was, because they're the muscle. So he was like, I'm a little older. I gotta wait for the youngsters to come back so they can go out and handle it, because that's beyond me at this point. That's what I think.
It might have been.
Maybe. He was also told, remember when he, you know, this is after he pieced it up with his brother, and the reason why they had to piece it up, because he also did something foul, right? And in that moment when he received the blessing, Bereshit 28:1, he was given instruction to not mingle with the women of Canaan. And so when Samek is like, well, we could all marry each other, that was already a no-go. They weren't supposed to do that.
I think his sons know too. They said they made that proposition deceitfully.
And I think it's like both. I don't know. Both things are true. Like you was moving around uncover. You knew better, right? Or you were supposed to know better. That's the importance of the mothers, you know, feeding down what the father gives out to the children, so they'll follow it, right? And then at the other point is you put the tribe in danger by not following instruction. And even when all is said and done, then if we're like act emotionally or rashly, that also puts the tribe in danger, because we're surrounded by these people.
Yeah, I think those were really great questions that you were asking, Master Menelik. And I do think about the story of Adam and Eve, because didn't Eve do the same thing where she didn't hearken on to the voice of her husband and, you know, listen to the serpent? And it just seems like it's kind of like another situation that's similar almost, but it is that factor of like, okay, Dinah being, you know, raped. So like, if that's the case, then I don't know. I just think that she's family. She was, you know, part of the family. Would you, even if she was walking around uncovered as a member of your family and you did something you wasn't supposed to do you still like go to bat for them and be like, you know what? Yeah, you weren't supposed to be out there, but here's what we're gonna do, because she's family. She's a part of our family. Do you let family go? You know, I just think about like we were talking about. We had a segment. We were talking about like, even if your family member do something wrong, you still gonna protect them in public. But when you go behind the scenes, you're like, okay, you wasn't supposed to do that. So it's like, where is that energy when it comes to like tribalism? And you know, I'm wondering. So.
Yeah, but it's sort of like what Akizak was saying earlier. It's certain things you can't come back from, and certain things you can't like take back and undo, because it doesn't say Yakub told his daughter, go out and mingle with the daughters of the land so that you could get to know them better. So I can only assume she decided to do that. You know, and because of that, we got him. It's similar to what Chief would often say about in supreme mathematics, if you put wisdom before the knowledge, you get a misunderstanding. So it's like, how do we clear up this chaos that was created by someone going out and doing something that they weren't told to do?
Mm-hmm. I don't know how the story ends.
You do know how it ends. Yeah.
We didn't read the whole thing. We stopped.
I also thought it, just thinking about the last few verses that we read, like considering how they decided, we're not just going to accept XYZ. Now you have to show and prove in some way that you are willing to succumb to our culture, which is the circumcision piece, right? So it's not as if they weren't given something that they would have to do and have to follow through on. I wonder if we were to apply it just to, like the story to our lives as well too. Like, when you say, okay, a family member does something and they, you have that discussion behind closed doors or whatever. But you still have to hold them accountable to a certain standard or law, right? With it, which is the culture. And they have to show and prove to some degree that they're with it or they're with the culture. I just find it interesting though that they chose circumcision, right? Because at that time, that's like the standard of like showing that you are following, that's what I'm thinking, because I'm not like teaching it or anything, but I'm thinking that's the standard for showing and proving that you're with our culture, all right, or you're at least willing to acknowledge it, because I can't say respect it because you didn't respect it at all. As a matter of fact, you defile it completely, but you're at least willing to take all of the men and bow or kneel to this particular law or culture, and they do say they agreed, right? I think they said they agreed. I don't know if we got there yet. So they agreed, but
It didn't matter.
I had some other ideas in mind.
What was interesting though, 34:13, it said, and the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father deceitfully and said, because he had defiled Dinah their sister. And then they mentioned like, okay, you have to, go through circumcision, but they were deceitful in saying that. So it's like, were they like lying? Like, okay, well, you can become a part, So it's like, that wasn't really like, they were like pretending to like kind of,
It was fake forgiveness. They were like, but we really know what's up. Like, it was like sure, we can work with you. It was like, we can work together, but I don't like you and I'm gonna get you. That's what that was.
I mean, I'm looking at this joint. If she was raped, right? They sure ain't bringing it up. That ain't what that's not their gripe. Their gripe is you uncircumcised. Not, you took her and you raped my sister. That's not their gripe. Their gripe is you are uncircumcised. I'm from this line. I'm not gonna lean on so much saying that she was raped. She went out there and she had a good time. Now,
I was gonna. What Zach is saying, like I think, I don't know, but it makes me want to go back to what Derek posted in the chat when he said, hold on, I'm trying to, like, he put it in chronological order. He saw her, he took her, and then he laid with her. So I wondered if that took component was actually like, I don't think that took meant rape, because it seemed like it means something totally different. And like in other scriptures, it's a reference to taking someone to be your wife. So I just wonder if maybe we're throwing the word rape in there and it's probably not even that.
That's a good point. That's a good point right there. I agree. Saul already took her and lay with her and then defiled her.
So with that being said, Coach Sequoia, when she's like with that energy of, you know, you defending this house, that energy is left when she stepped outside of that house. I don't need to defend when you go way over there. Now I have to put my life in danger, like Mufasa, when I told you not to go over here to this dark, shadowy area. Now people are gonna possibly lose their lives because of this. So instead of people losing their lives, stay over there. And when it get gangster, make sure you live with that decision that you said you had a good time. So make sure you continuously chase happiness.
I'm curious, like, is there ever a point where Yakub is responsible for maybe diluting the culture? Because if at one point they're saying, okay, we'll become one people, I'm seeing it as like, okay, well, you're diluting like your culture. So like you're only saying like, hey, you have to your men have to be circumcised, but why not all the other aspects of the culture? Do they have to take that on as well? So to me, it's like, okay, that seems like a something that he needs to be responsible for as well. I don't know. This is how I'm seeing it though.
I think in terms of that piece, if you go back to verse 7, and this is to your point, Akizak, because their gripe was that he slept with her. And it says, the sons of Yakub came out of the field, and when they heard it, the men were grieved, and they were very wroth, because he had wrought folly in Israel, and laying with Jacob's daughter, which thing ought not to be done. And then he came, and Hamor came and asked for her to wife, and to make marriages with us, and give us your daughters, and take our daughters. And you will dwell with us in the land, and the land should be for you, before you to dwell and trade that herein, and get you some possessions herein. And after that, in verse 13, it says they answered deceitfully. So it's like they never, like, we don't care if you get circumcised or not, because
we got it for you.
That's not the point.
Mm-hmm.
I think the whole thing with the circumcision was to lure them into a false sense of security, to ambush them. Mm-hmm. Honestly, to me, that's what the only reason why it came up. But I think that Jacob would have been there. I can't see them meeting with the sons without meeting with the father as well, because he said your daughter. They keep saying your daughter, you know, and I'm not so sure if they're saying your daughter as in, you know, as a honorific, like she's a daughter of the house, but they keep saying your daughter. I'm assuming that Yakub can at least hear them, like he's at least within earshot, but I don't hear him saying anything.
Right, that's
held his peace. I'm kind of confused about that part. You know, was he standing there and listening to the whole thing? Did he hear when they said the lie? Like, sure, like, we'll deceive you and these things like that, because that's how he got what he has, by lying. You know, and here his sons go lying again because they want revenge. Because it takes a while for you to recover from that circumcision, even if you go to a doctor. Like, it's going to take a while for you to recover from that.
I read it the same way you did. Like he's not speaking. He's there, but it sounds like, you know, who's speaking, who's being spoken to. How it reads is that the sons are giving the answers. Like, yeah, they're talking to Jacob, but the sons are giving the answers.
Yeah, and then I think about the section where it goes back to the fact that he held his peace until the sons came.
Can we go back to
that belong to him? That's
sure.
So
if a man happens to meet a virgin who is not pledged to be married and rapes her, and they are discovered, he shall pay her father 50 shekels of silver. He must marry the young woman for he has violated her. He can never divorce her as long as he lives.
Right.
But I'm still wondering, but the rest of it just seemed like, are you prostituting the culture out? Because I don't know. I don't
But
understand why.
Well,
That would mean she's not of the culture anymore. She belongs to that other dude, and case closed.
right. And Samek is not of the same culture. The Hivites. He's not of the same culture. So like
So,
But
them.
they're becoming one now, and they're doing all this negotiation. But they're becoming one. But it's like, I don't know. I'm not seeing where it's like, well, you have to take the whole culture. If we're gonna negotiate this thing, you got to take on our whole culture. It's only
You're forgetting the deceitful part. It did not matter. That's just that those were just words.
yeah, because
Not what happened.
I don't know if we're going to reveal like what happens towards the end, but for those who don't know, well, they end up slaying them or slewing them. So it's like, there you go. that was what they did. So maybe that was why they did what they did. Like they decided to just off with their head because they didn't want that intermingling or that connection.
so this was a strategic. This is strategic planning.
I was thinking that the reaction is because they were angry, not because
Okay.
not because it was within their law to do. So it wasn't like a response based on their culture. It was a reaction based on how they felt. Because they lied like right after. Like dudes them came and they was like, give us your daughter. And he's like, you know what, you want her? All right, here's what you gotta do, player. Take this knife. Don't cut too far.
Can we put Chief's comment or Rob's comment back on the screen?
Yeah.
Because this goes to the part about culture. It gives specific instructions if a grape were to happen, right? But Samek comes to them and like, I'll pay whatever, I'll do whatever, like whatever the price is, money is no object to me, and no amount is too much or whatever. If he was their culture, he would have known immediately, you got 50 shekels of silver that you owe them. But that's not what he did. He was like, I'll pay all this stuff. So I read that as, and I could be wrong, is like, he's not their culture. So he whatever he did, so it goes back to the ask for forgiveness instead of permission.
Or maybe because he's the prince, he probably felt like, well, I can just give you whatever and you'll get over it.
Okay. So let's look at this. I think this is it's a matter of extreme importance. All right. Look at this. So when it says married and rapes her and they are discovered, okay? It doesn't say he is discovered, like I took her and she was fighting and screaming and they are discovered. So I'm looking at that like she is laying with him, but knowing though we're not in the same culture, knowing that we are not, there's no betrothal, there's no, joining of families. So you are essentially raping somebody if you are taking them and stepping outside of the culture. I'm not looking at that in the sense of saying you're raping him because you took him and then you grabbed her and put her in the headlock and then ran her over to the haystack and then you put her down and whatever. I'm looking at it and they are discovered. I'm like, they both had something to do with this. And now it's a matter of, okay, this is the game that you planned, then this is what is to follow after that. Y'all tell me what you see.
I see that, but in scripture it didn't say that. It said Yaqub heard that he had defiled Dinah, his daughter. He did it. He did it, not they. It wasn't like a they thing, but it was more like a he thing. So I don't know.
Okay. So I'm looking at that in the sense that when you defile something, she was a virgin. Like I can't get that back. So now how this is my daughter, and I think especially at the time we're talking about some folks had chastity belts. Like, who now? What am I supposed to do after you have now defiled my daughter? I'm not looking at that in the sense of, even though they may have may have been consensual, defiling just means she will never get that back. So if you go and now have a conversation with another man and we saying this is what we're going to join, and they say, hey man, you gave me some faulty equipment, what you supposed to do now? That's why I'm looking at that like that.
That was Sister Margie, or
I thought it was.
You were asking me. I was just throwing some
I'm
stuff
just
out.
saying in general. I ain't asking you.
Okay.
I'm just, you know.
Here's the other part. Like to your point, Akizak, it could be, and to you, Akoti Margie, it may not be grape. It could be consensual, because the took is like a wide. It's very wide. It's a very broad word, and it doesn't necessarily specify that, like, even in like the Hebrew, it could be like take possession of. The part that is bad is the fact that he laid with her, which and the way that it's laid out is very different. When we hear about Judah and Tamar, it's like he knew her. Like even Adam and Eve, he knew her. It was very different. With this, it's like it could be great, but maybe it was consensual, because the issue is that she was defiled because he laid with her and she was defiled. Like that's the issue, and it sounds like that's what they were upset with. So even if he didn't come, so there could be a reason, like several reasons, like him not coming to pay the shekels because either it was consensual or just because like we're not even the same culture. This is how we do it, so just deal with it.
I don't know, because if we're looking at this law right here, that's on the screen, Jacob's sons were in the wrong, because it could have been on them. It was on them to say, this is our culture. This is how we do things. You did this wrong, but now that we at this point, this is what we're supposed to do at this point.
Okay.
You give my father 50 shekels, and you take my sister. We're not supposed to marry y'all at all. So stay over there. So that this doesn't happen again.
The culture.
Say
It
that.
seems like the best way to keep any further escalation from happening.
Okay.
In terms of just what's on the screen here. And don't divorce her, or we might come visit you.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That's what it seems like to me, based on what's on the screen.
Yeah. That goes to also, like, if you're not like we have laws, statutes, and commandments that are set down. So like even if that, like, you don't follow it, like chaos ensues, because they created like a whole problem, not just for Yaqub, like, because I don't know who said it, was like, you making me look bad out here, but for everybody, because now they gotta move. Now they gotta, pack up shop.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this also from, like, this isn't the first time a Hebrew goes somewhere and someone either violates or almost violates because it wasn't made known that what you're about to do is a violation. I'm thinking about Abraham lying about Sarah being his sister, and Pharaoh almost taking her, and like y'all had to come to him in a dream, like, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. And he's like, yo, bro lied to me. Like, he didn't lay down the law. So you're not telling me what your culture is from the get-go. And you're not telling me, like, no, she's set apart. You don't touch someone. You ain't showing me that, because she out there mingling with the rest of the girls.
Was.
So you could get angry after the fact. This is why I tried to keep the distinction between responding and reaction. Because my initial reaction, my first thought is going to that. Like, dude touch my sister. But in terms of response, like, Yaqub held his peace. And he could have stood out and said, listen, this is how we're going to do this. But he kept holding his peace until after his sons did something that they wasn't supposed to do. And then he spoke to them.
Then that makes me think, then why didn't Yaqub speak up and say, no, that's not how we do it? He let that stand.
That's where I was saying the accountability. Does that fall on Yakub?
That's
Because
what I
from the
said at the
beginning, you
start.
brought your family into a land that these are not your people. So it's like it's just a trickle down effect from there. It just got worse and worse and worse. It seems.
Yeah, that's what I was saying from the beginning. Like, he should have covered his daughter better, but at the same time, like Isaac was saying, she's still the same. Like, she got 2 legs, and she walked herself over to the daughters of the land. So that's where it
Olivia
gets
the
kind of
slave.
tricky, because she came from under the covering, and now we got all this confusion. So since you came from under the covering, let's refer to the law. So he got to pay them 50 shekels, and she got to keep it pushing with them. If we do it that way, I don't know. Y'all tell me if I'm reading this wrong.
I don't agree.
We build it.
There you are. I don't agree when you saying it was Yakub's problem. It was his fault. I don't think it was his fault, and I'm saying this because I see. Let's just look at it in today's sense. A lot of dudes who try to micromanage a female. Of I'm gonna watch everything that you do. Those are guys who are insecure. Or now, oh, what you doing? I'm a follow right behind you, as opposed to this is the rules and this is the structure. Either you get in line or just get off. I'm not gonna keep following behind you. And if you want to go in that direction, go in that direction. It's like my man, what do they say? Ain't no turning back. You just pick another chicken, make a pick up the slack. Like okay, this one's gone. This one's gone. You're gonna get it and keep it moving. But if I say that that's my fault, he established the culture and put the umbrella up. If it's raining outside and somebody walks outside from underneath the umbrella, how is that your fault? And they get wet. Now, oh, it's your fault I got wet because I walked outside even though you had the umbrella up.
Okay, so it seems like we agree on all points except it's Yakub's fault.
Well, can I ask a question? Is that like a very I don't know, Western kind of mindset where it's like we looking for the one person to blame when it could be like the truth is everybody did something wrong. Everybody might have a piece in it. Like the daughter for not moving around covered, like she knows she should have. Well, we presume that she's supposed to know. The son.
No, she knew because he laid down the structure.
Okay, good.
She walked from under the umbrella.
She knew. She like you said, she took her 2 legs over there and she walked over where she wasn't supposed to be. At the same time, why wasn't one of the brothers? Why wasn't anybody instructed? Unless she left without them knowing. Why
they was at work?
Anybody...
They was in the field. What you want me to do? I'm watching these sheep.
Right, they were in the field.
Like, he was rich with cattle.
Right.
So someone gotta watch the cattle.
He was, and speckled and spotted goats and stuff. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But and then but at the same time, Yakub let his son speak, and then when they said, okay, well, you got to be circumcised, he never said that's not how we do it. If that's in case what happened, he didn't correct them. And then the brothers went and did what they wanted to do, which was very rash, and it put everybody in a bad situation. So like, I just wonder, it's like the looking for the one person to blame, instead of like looking at the whole, like everybody had a piece in how this goes. I don't know.
Or maybe that was all a big setup. Because for me, I'm listening to the story, and it reminds me of a made-for-TV movie I used to watch called The Last Dawn, right? And it was by Mario Puzo, right? And it was like the same situation. The Don's daughter was shacking up with an enemy boss's son, right? And she goes and then her cousin finds out. So then they petition to the cousin, like, can you speak to my papa? But they don't like each other. And so, he's like, okay, whatever. I'll try to talk to him or whatever. So he asked for her hand in marriage to her father. And he gives her, he's like, yo, man, I love your daughter and everything. Come to find out she's also pregnant. But they have a wedding, and then on the wedding night, man, hey, the bros came and everybody out but the daughter. And she knew it was her brothers that did it. And she called them out by name. And I was like, it's not the same story. Maybe he just said that to have plausible deniability. Maybe that's what Yaku was saying. He wasn't going to correct them because he probably like, yeah, set him up. I'm just thinking like, hey, yo, I know what you're doing. Hey, if you do this, don't bring it back to me. I already know, and I know that that's not how we do things, but we ain't taking them seriously. Mask up. For sure, Pops. Maybe they got that kind of communication, because if she already out there, it's like, okay, well, we gonna make sure you don't do this again. Everybody gonna know our reputation. That's the way I see it a little bit, but also it's like, I mean, if it also could be, because I'm thinking from a tribal perspective, it also could be the insult to injury on how they came to him. Like, yeah, we'll have your people mess with my people, and we like, you just see how you came in the beginning, and now you like, oh, we can squash this. We just intermingle with each other. Nah, there's bad blood here, and something has to be rectified, and there has to be some balance. And you doing that and saying, "Oh, we'll just willingly join you." I mean, you got good, and then maybe that's also my thing. It's like, hold on, y'all got good land, and here you are saying, "Oh, we'll join your faith and all that." And whatnot. It's like, how? Why? Who are you? You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's just me being picky, but yeah, I thought it was the more we start talking about it, was like, maybe that was a setup. Maybe that's what it's supposed to be the whole time, and then we chastise our kids, like, you ain't supposed to do that, now we gotta go. You was like, good job. It could be a wake, yeah, Yakub could have been like that, but like, I'm gonna chastise my son, but good job, son. I didn't order the hit. At least you can't prove I didn't. So I say that's what my mind is hitting right now. The way we talk about it is like, maybe that's what it was.
That's sort of related to what's on the screen right now, in terms of just that there is an insult to the family as well. Even though she was out there is an insult in terms of how you think you can treat a daughter of Israel. And I think that's sort of related to what's going on in verse 7, but they're like, he brought folly in Israel. I'm not sure if it's just an insult to their sister. Do you think it's also, well, two questions. One, do you think it's also like an issue with an insult to the family in general, or an insult to the tribe in terms of how you approach this? Because you were saying insult to injury. But my other question was, where was Rachel and Leah and their servants? Like, why wasn't homegirl with them? Why wasn't Dinah with them? If the men were out in the field, you ain't got no one to go out with you. Why wasn't she with the mothers? Like, those are my two questions. The first one is to El Karar in terms of like the politics of it. Like, do you think it was just an insult to injury thing where they were like it says in that verse, should he deal with our sister as a prostitute? Because Yakub is like, listen, we surrounded by strangers. Y'all did this thing and deceived these people and killed them. Now all these other people looking at me like, oh, so that's what y'all moved in here to do. Y'all moved into the neighborhood, you killed the neighbors, and y'all expect us to just sit here?
Well, I look at it like we see, you're surrounded by strangers and you in a foreign land, but if they, sometimes You know, if you look at a tribal civilization and then women is easy and they can be took, that could be a bigger situation. So then you have somebody saying, "Oh, so we should just let him deal with our sister like a prostitute?" Bro. You know, like, oh, that's what we doing. So we got to be scared of everybody because we few in number. But I mean, if we y'all's people, why should we be afraid? You know, hold your peace and let the Lord fight your battles. You know what I'm talking about? You know, but yeah, you know, that's a valid, logical question. Like, yes, I understand that we are few in number and we are surrounded. But at the same time, do we allow somebody to just treat one of our women like a prostitute, even though she really was out there, you know? But how does that make us look? That makes us men look weak, right? You know? I mean, let's just think about it. If one could get took, they all could get took. You know, we can't have that. We let one go. Shoot, everybody gonna think we weak. We can't let that happen. You know, we gotta send a message. You know, let them know. Yeah, you
So
may
is
got
it
one.
like,
You can get them all.
so is it, you're saying that if we do this the right way, and he pays us the 50 shekels, and she goes off with him, will everyone else see it as, oh, we just take their women and pay them 50 shekels and go our way?
They could if they don't, you know, see it as a if they don't see your culture as being honest and upfront if they don't respect your statutes and commandments, then yeah, they can see it that way. I mean, look at it. Okay, since we look at it like today. How many dang on statutes and statutes and laws do the dominant society break? And you know they break, but they'll hold you to them same standards and will punish you under them same standards. But you can't get reciprocity from them same statutes and laws that they create themselves. I mean, even though it's in the manual that you ain't supposed to, but I mean, it's already, in the fine print. But I'm just saying, it could be the same thing. They may not respect you. They may say, yeah, oh, all you got to do is, if you do that, just pay them, 50 shekels, and you just keep it for life. You can just put it in the annex or something. We don't know. Put it in that, that spare tent we got out there. Ain't nobody gonna know. It could be, you don't know how these people think, because they ain't yours, So yeah, it could be like that, So yeah.
So I'm gonna say that the rule is there to remove the emotion from it. So one can feel like, oh, I'm offended because that's my sister and I'm doing this because, I'm connected to him. However, if I just follow the rule that was already put in place, then it just said, you know what? Just run me the shekels, big dog, and it's a wrap. It's not a thing of, hey, you disrespecting my whole community and you shouldn't be doing this, right? Because now it's like, because they're stepping outside of what was already put in place for the community and the culture, now they're saying, oh, I'm gonna wait till my son gets home. And then when my son gets home, I'm gonna send him over. You don't need to wait. It's already right there. Run me the 50 shekels and then we move on. Hey, where Dinah at? Dinah gone, y'all. So when they get home, that's what it is, because it's already there. So you don't have to, there's no guesswork. That's the way I would look at it.
Dinah don't make it.
Peace, Master. Peace. Welcome to the build.
Peace to
the chief. Uh-oh.
I don't know if you're trying to mute. If you're talking, we can't hear you. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
There's no sound.
Okay, so
that was powerful.
Put it back on Yakub then?
What do you say?
In terms of saying, this is the rule, this is how we deal with it, Dinah gone.
At the end, it
At
is
the
falling
end,
on
but
him
not-
because now he's not following the structure that's already in place.
But not being his fault that Dinah came from under the covering. That would be her choice.
That's Dinah, yeah. And then the consequence of that is, Dinah, you go out there. So just like Akiel Kara said, they put you in a tent out back. They put you in a tent out back in the shack by the railroad track. Like that's what you just you've earned that though. Like that's what you've asked for because you wanted to go out there and you wanted to fraternize with these other females that were out there hanging and swinging. So now it's 50 shekels and we move on from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm having a hard time because I don't know their culture. So I'm having a hard time blaming Shechem in terms of like if someone like if I got a jar full of jelly beans and you drop something valuable in a jar full of jelly beans, and you drop your favorite jelly bean that's a different flavor, and I just scoop up a handful of jelly beans, it's like, ooh, what's this? And I eat it. It's like, it was in my jar. Like it was in my pool of pickings. You know? So I just took her like I would take anyone else.
Right. So I don't see I don't hold him accountable to any of it because he went out. He was looking to see who was out there. Oh man, look at this sister over here. I'm gonna go holler at her. As Akiel Kara would say, she chose. Like she chose to lay with this dude. Now, how is that on him?
I'm still thinking in terms of your responsibility as a father to keep your children in check. And even the responsibility of the mothers to keep her near and inside.
Yeah, but I think even when we look at, you can see people know ways to get out. Like I can see when so-and-so, my servants go over there, I can walk out this back door and ain't nobody gonna know until I come back. Like at the end of the day, the culture is what's gonna keep you protected. And if you want to step outside of that because you want to do your own thing, well then now this is what happens. I'm confused as to what more could he have done to keep her in the house.
That's where I'm kind of stuck at. If it said that she snuck out, it's a different thing. It says that she went out to mingle with the daughters of the line. I'm like, she wasn't told to do that though. So I can't say she's free of blame. But I'm wondering if what he actually did before I could answer what more could he do. What did he already do?
I don't think I'm trying to see why you would need that. If somebody went out there and did something that they know what they weren't supposed to go over there and do, what more do you need of that story?
Well, if she went out there and she wasn't supposed to go there, then that's on her.
Because, okay, we could say he kicked her out, which it doesn't say any of this. We could say, she was reprimanded for she did something, which it doesn't say any of that. It just says she went over there fraternizing with this group of individuals, and this is what happened. Well, how I'm trying to see how he would be to blame for that, for somebody stepping outside of the gate.
Yeah. I'm not thinking in terms of just that event. I'm thinking in terms of her upbringing, in terms of her being taught and what she was taught. Like, at what point did she decide that it was okay to go out uncovered? But if she did decide it and she wasn't given any permission or told to do it, then she chose to do it. It's just like what's her face and ATL. She decided she wanted to go on the other side of the tracks and mingle with other people, and she came back with a big belly. That's her fault, because he gave her everything that she was supposed to have, but she just didn't have any idea of where he came from, and she decided to take it upon herself to go find out. But that's still her being wayward and rebellious. But I'm thinking in terms of just fatherhood in general. If she decided that she was going to go out there outside of her father's covering, then that's her fault. But at the same time, I'm wondering the same thing you're wondering, like, what more could he do? Or was that one of those situations where you just got to see who was rebellious and you got to take it out?
Well, I think we can see a little bit of it from what the sons were doing. They weren't at the bar. They weren't kicking it. They were working. So there is a structure and a culture that says this is what they're supposed to be doing. So if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, then I have to now look and see why is she not doing it.
That's why I was asking why she wasn't with her mother's.
Because she was disobedient. That's why. That's what I'm going with. Now, unless you see something else, please.
I ain't got no more evidence.
Right. So from the evidence that is given, if the glove fit, don't fit, we must acquit. Now, if everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing, and she's the only one that's not, then I would have to. I think the logical deduction is it's her doing her own thing.
True.
Yeah, it kind of leaves, like, even looking at the lingering question at the end, like, should he deal with our sister as with the prostitute or harlot? It's like, now you left this question because you went off and, you know, messed with someone from a different nation. And now it's like that question is sitting there, like how do they deal with her? Like, you know, after that, because they left, they're like leaving with her. They're not leaving her. They've taken her with them to the next place.
This is still bugging me. It's like, are there certain children where no matter how much training or culture you give them, they'll still go astray? Or is it a case where there wasn't proper supervision and teaching? Like, does that happen? Where there's children that no matter what you do, no matter what you tell them, they'll just be rebellious and you gotta let them go?
Did we follow our own parents in everything that they did and everything that they taught us?
That's what Eve did.
We got retarded culture though.
I told y'all. I said that.
Okay, but like, how many times it says don't eat anything without any scales or fins, and Negroes still eating shrimp?
We are stiff-necked people.
Whose fault is that?
Isn't that just the way of Israel? We all stick-necked people.
Like, that's what I'm saying.
Heavenly parents.
You know, I can't now look at, well, you know what? That's the most high fault because he should have put more things in place that told me that kept me from that. If he didn't want me to eat the shrimp, then he wouldn't have made it taste so good. Like, I can play that game, or I can be like, no, this is accountability, and I need to. This is somebody told me what to do and what not to do, and I did it because of my disobedience. Unless you see it some other way.
Nah, it's not. I'm not saying she wasn't going outside of her covering at all. I'm saying in terms of us raising children, is there a point where we drop the ball, or are we to be prepared for children being disobedient, like beyond our control?
I think that's a matter. Oh, go ahead, Coach Yaffe.
I was just about to pull on the scripture about, like, you know, you know what? I'm not gonna say because I'm gonna butcher it, so let me not say it. But you know, give him the word, and he shall not depart from it. You know, so it could be like, if we're doing it right, righteousness. If we're doing it right, if we impart it into the children from a place of righteousness, then maybe that's the key. It doesn't go away. If we're being mindful about who we live around, who's surrounding us, because things can come in from the outside and entice. Look at what happened with the Nakash in the garden. You sure he said that? You know, and those things can happen. So it's I don't know. I don't know.
Let me pull something up.
Because I do think about the aspect too, like if there were wars in heaven and we're mirroring, you know, like they was having issues up there. So like, are we just like children and kind of mirroring like what our heavenly parents were doing? So I think about that too. Like, You know, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find it. I want to make sure I read it. Because it's in the new way that even though, and I'm going to paraphrase, but even though we might be surrounded by the flood, you don't let the water in, right? So it's already showing you're going to be surrounded by people who are not going to be in alignment with what you are doing and how you live. But it's a matter of, can you now make sure that you are so sold out on your purpose and sold out on what it is that you're doing, that you don't allow the torrent of waters, I don't remember the exact words that was used, but you don't allow those to come in to now then start to corrupt your line of thinking and everybody else's line of now, oh, okay, well, this must be okay. And then you start to, it's that thing of what they say with sin is it'll take you further than you want to go. It'll keep you longer than you want to stay, and it's going to cost you more than you want to pay. So it's a matter of, does one now just that I'm going to be in alignment with what it is that I'm supposed to be doing, or do I want to start letting some of this flood in? So now the whole ship starts to sink. So it's already there saying that, oh, okay, I can say, oh, it's his fault because you're around it. You can't keep running everywhere when you ain't going to be around people who don't think like you think. It's a matter of, can you just stand on business? And that's what I got to say about that.
Okay.
So, can I be heard this time? Or am I
Yes.
still unheard?
Yes.
All right, cool. So, yeah, I just wanted to interject real quick. Shalom, everyone, of course, listening. The first thing is that I think you should put the focus that you were on the concept of filing, because that was the actual issue. There has been debate over the years as to if she was, assaulted or not. I say she was definitely not assaulted, definitely not, because we have three parts, and each part tells us something important. Shechem, he saw Dinah. So the first thing is, where were you to be seen by Prince, right? So you were somewhere, because the Hittites, and in fact, they didn't call themselves the Hittites. The Hittite, there's two different Hittites. There's the Neo-Hittites and there's the biblical Hittites. They're not necessarily the same people. The Hittites that we know, those are people who settled around the area we call Asia Minor. They're in that Turkey area. But they were the Hets or the Hatuts. And like anytime you have the ites, like it means like child of, a son of, like a Moabite, Israelite, Amorite. So they were actually Het, or Hatuts. But they weren't that anyway. They were what they called themselves was Nesili Uni. So the Nesili, or the Nes, they actually were a Hamitic line, and they were into goddess worship. Okay, but they were Hamites who were into goddess worship. So that's the first thing. I think it's significant that this is a story about a girl stepping out to be around other girls. When it says that she went out to see the daughters of the land, see means to perceive or to behold. It's the ra'ah, that the Hebrew word ra'ah. But it could mean like to see. Ra'ah could also be like to emulate or to like embrace. So it's not just, hey, I'm going out to go look, is I'm going to go study this thing so I can behold it, right? So she was somewhere where obviously there was a root of culture. It's kind of like, let's go to New York City. Like, I want to go to America, got to go to New York City, because that tells me everything I need to know about America, So it's that type of situation. But if you look, there's a three-part. He saw her, then he took her, right? And took it correlates to many other tooks that we have in scripture. And it could be abduction, but it also could be marriage or laying with. but it doesn't necessarily mean that she was, assaulted, because he took her, then he laid with her. Because really, I'm gonna say it's four part. He saw her, one. He took her, two. He laid with her, three. Then he defiled her. So, if anything, the defilement, if it wasn't assault, the defilement would have been at the taking. But the defilement came last. So there was something that he did after they laid together. That was the problem. The word there that's used for defilement, it's not just defiled like how you and I would look as like debasing or destroying or whatever, but that term could also be like he insulted her. You know, that's also defilement. He insulted her, or he even ravishing someone, but the idea of like it usually which is kind of funny. It's pronounced oh no. Like oh no. But the Hebrew oh no. So no, you didn't. It's pronounced just like but that terminology means to look down on someone. So when they were like, yo, he treated like a hooker, it's yeah, because you're looking down on her. So that was more so the issue. One of the key pieces you find there is that there wasn't marriage just as the result of sexual activity either, because there's no oath. Now, how could we make an oath when we don't serve the same Elohim? Because the Hittites, the term using that biblically, like I said, they were really the Deceit only, but we'll just use the biblical term. It means to be terrified. It means to be afraid. The actual term Hittite. So she's going into rough country. She's going amongst wild people who everybody was afraid of. So the defilement would have been like, first of all, you went out there where it was dangerous. That's number one. But then number two, he might have dealt roughly, afterwards, because these are wild, dangerous people. Now, the reason I would say that it wasn't an assault, though, but he just got caught up with somebody, he was a
Oh,
prince.
sorry,
He was flashy.
you're starting to break up. It was a
Oh, I'm
little
breaking
choppy,
up.
but it's getting worse.
Oh, okay. Let me
I
see.
thought it was just
Yeah, we
me.
no, we can follow you, but
What about now?
it's starting to
Still
starting to lose more syllables. Sorry, say it
I
again.
think you're okay.
Oh, it's still no good.
No,
No,
you sound good.
yeah, you sound good now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm crashing stuff all over. All right. So yeah, so it's the idea there that when they came, when who was it, Simeon, Levi, when they came and wiped everybody out, you notice they came and they took care of the prince, and they took care of Hamar. But they did that, but then they pulled Dinah from the house. So this whole time, when all this negotiation is going on, she's with the prince in the house. She's still with him. So that's why I would say, like, no, it wasn't necessarily that he took her in that same way. He defiled her, he dirtied her up, because they had a crappy culture. They were crappy people. They're behind the times. They're still praying to goddesses. And the wise people knew that we already came out of that dispensation. We don't do that anymore. And the het, again, like het teru, you got to pay attention to like the het. The het was important. Het means house of, but het teru is house of Haru. But so that I would say that should be the focus. No, I don't believe she was abducted or anything like that. And it was because of Yaqub's greed. His son saw beyond his greed. Because remember, this is when this occurs, he had just finished making amends with Esau. So it was like you just got into a good spot. Your brother decided not to light you up. and then you're in this beautiful land, and now your eyes have gotten big, and this was also prior to that. He had fled from Laban. So it's like you running and running, then you're running to your big brother, and it's like, oh God, now my big brother's gonna kill me, and then you're in this place of Shechem, and then you're like, man, the land is beautiful, the cattle is beautiful. You're already good though, but you're like, but I could be better, you know. And it was the sons that was like, nah, bump that, because he just ruined her life, because she can fetch no bride price now. Who would want her after she's no longer a virgin? Nobody would want her. So he literally just destroyed her life. But if she stays with him, it's better that she be a widow. We could work around that. But if she stays with him, then she stays with these unclean people, these savages, basically, So, and yeah, she was at fault because she didn't cry out. Because you remember, there's a difference between this situation and like the situation with Tamar, who was protesting, saying, no, get off me, leave me alone, don't do this. We don't have that. So that's why you see those laws were in place. If the woman cries out, it's a different penalty than if she does not cry out. Because anybody can pull a Emmett Till later, So I was gonna add that to the cipher.
Even when I'm looking at when it says if they are discovered, that tells me, and I could be looking at that totally wrong, is that somebody is repeatedly doing something. And then now I'm found out, that, oh yeah, I caught you. What y'all over here doing? All right. They're like, oh man. And which happens, and you can hear these stories. He raped me. You didn't agree to any of this. You didn't meet him somewhere, but now all of a sudden when you found out, heck, I think of that whole thing with Rosewood. Their whole communities were burned down because somebody started lying. And somebody says, oh yeah, this person was with me. So where I'm looking at that is somebody stepped out. They did something they had no business doing. Now they can try to cry wolf and all of that at the end of the day, but I think it's built into the culture that tells you what the next step looks like, and you move on. And
I think so too. I think our only point of disagreement was Yaakov having more accountability. But again, it comes down to she stepped out, and like she was saying, she was studying them, so that lets us know right there. It was a situation where there was nothing more that he could do. But after the fact, I think we did agree on this, Akizak, that Yaakov kept his mouth shut, when he could have spoken up.
And if we look at, because when you just said that, it made me think of the show. It's number 9. I want to say, is it Culture Family on the podcast? It's number 9. Whatever it is, Chief says that there is he references a song from Keith Sweat. There's a right way and a wrong way to love somebody, and he said it is true. Now, people come into relationships. Now, either I want to give love or I want to be loved, and looking at that. But however, one of the things that you just said that was in this show is you study somebody of how they want to be loved. She's studying this dude to see how I can get in his room. You don't study somebody if you're not trying to elope with her. What's your angle?
She was studying the daughters.
What is he like?
She didn't see him. He saw her. That's what I'm saying. She was looking at the girls.
Why would you be studying them?
That makes sense. So I can be seen by the prince. I want to be like them.
You know what? Or it could also, it's kind of like it's the idea of it still goes back to knowing who's around you. like Oba said, like he went and so like, I have this, I have that, but I can have more. Like you looking and seeing what everybody's got around you, and not necessarily, that says to me, not necessarily looking at how your decisions or your greed is affecting the tribe. So then what happens is it creates this space for the daughter to go out like, oh well, I want to see what they're doing. It made me think of like, parents don't like I couldn't go to sleepovers like that, for people like cousins and things. Blood relatives were different, but like, oh, I want to go to the sleepover, all the other girls are doing it. That's what came to mind when I thought, like, when he said study them. I want to see what the other girls are doing because like it looks cool, like the popular kids are doing it. I want to be like everybody else, because that has seeped into the space now, because we didn't fortify around us, so we didn't check like this is how we do things, and there's no stepping outside of that. It was like, yeah, let's trade, let's, like, I want to be on this land, like, yeah, let's intermingle. It wasn't like a hard line set up when they met Shamek, maybe that's it. It's like so now it's like, oh, look what's around us. I want to do what they're doing. This is what all the kids are doing.
And I think it's important that it also, like she said, she got in front of a prince. You just don't go to no bar and meet the prince, or you don't just go to. How did you get in to whatever this crowd was? How'd you get into the VIP section to make
Like
sure
Patriarchal
that you were?
saying.
Yeah, how'd you get in to make sure bottles were being popped, and you were around the bottles being popped over there that got you chosen out of the rest of the group? There's some studying that went on, because it sounds like to me, this was predetermined in her mind that this is what she wanted to do all along. And I'm going to take the proper and necessary steps in order for me to go over there. And I'm gonna study the women. Let me see what they like. Let me see what ultimately is beauty in their eyes. I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna make sure I get in front of them, and then go through that 4-step process. See ya. Took her. Lay with her. Like, I'm gonna chill with you. I'm gonna talk to you. Oh yeah, you know the custom. You know what you got the lingo down. You talking like the girls talk around here, like one of the around the way girls, right? Like you want, oh, okay, you down, this girl cool, man. And then I defiled her. Not I, but he. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, like, then that's what he did. But those are steps that she saw. Like, she knew what she was doing from the rip.
Are you saying that like Aki El Grau was saying in the chat, the hot girl summer that she was looking to partake in, that was in the end, but it was like a means to an end, and the end was the prince?
Yeah, she knew what she was doing. I'm with Aki El Grau on this one. She was trying to join Hot Girl Summer, and got defiled, and now it's like, oh man, you're done. That's it. Get the gist. All he can do now is get the 50 shekels and move on.
I think
So was that
I think that portion, the example that Chief gave to us about Tamar crying out, I think that was a key piece for me that kind of I guess it let the light bulb go off, because the verse that he actually quotes where you have to demand the 50 shekels, I think that's connected to the day discovered. Akizaki kept going on about the day discovered piece. So I wondered for a moment if the crying out leads to being discovered. So now everybody knows this is how you were defiled. And so now you have to follow the law, because, of course, Tamar would have spoken out about it. The crying out is, in rejection to whatever was being done to her. But clearly that was not the case with Dinah. So whatever it is that was happening, clearly she was in agreement with it. And I didn't consider that, yeah, she was with the prince this entire time that they were making negotiations. You were just like chilling. So you were where you wanted to be.
Yeah.
She was in that house. and they came and like they took her out. So I do wonder, like, was that their way of like, okay, the only way we can fix this is by making her a widow? You know, we gonna take her back because she was already in this house. So it's just kind of like, and I do wonder, like, too, like, why were they there? Why were they in a foreign land? Like, 'cause I do think about the hedge of protection. Like, why were they, you know, in another nation, in another land that wasn't theirs? And, you know, I going back to that.
Okay, so
Okay. I was just saying, like, she was saying he was in a good place in terms of he just squared off with his brother, got away from Laban. Like, he was in the clear, but his eyes got big again. I don't think them being there was the main issue, but like the term you brought up, hedge of protection, that being up and that being made clear that you don't go no, like, I keep saying, like, how did she get out the house? Like, that was my main thing. How did I, if it's like Akizak said, she snuck out, then she get what she got, you know, but how did she get out of the house? If she was supposed to be working, who was she supposed to be working with other than with the women of the house? How did she get from under them? You know, and then the men are out working, they came back. Like, I left home, my sister was a virgin. Now I came back, this dude is saying, not only did I take your sister and lay with her and defile her, I'm now saying, well, let me make an honest woman out of her. You know, and matter of fact, let's all us get together. And Pops is quiet.
So I want to say something with Coach Maria, of when you said discovered, and I immediately went to episode 11 or 12 is courting and dating, right? I don't remember, it's one of the two, but in there, Chief specifically speaks about, did one do the discovery? It said that word about in the law, like somebody sitting in jail and not necessarily looking at why they're sitting in there. Like, did one do the discovery? So I'm like, I'm looking at that, just gathering all of the information, as opposed to like somebody just walking in on somebody. But like, how did this come about? And once one sees how this came about, well, then now this is what you get just for the 50 shekels. This is the way I'm looking at that discovery. And then, are we doing this question or the other?
The first one. Why y'all switching so quickly?
So, should our sisters and daughters travel among hostile places unaccompanied by her senior? No. And the reason being is, dudes be running game. So do women, though. So let me not just say put that all on dudes, but dudes will run game, and you know, they'll tell you the sun, moon, stars, and you know, I got all of this lined up and all of that, yada yada yada, but you ain't gonna run that like somebody stand now, man. Like, stop talking. You're not saying anything. And it's a matter of, are you going to block? And you got to come. One can look at that and say, how did somebody get in? But then the question is, who left the gate open? And if somebody left somebody unaccompanied, and you let them go, not they just went out there on their own. There's a huge difference. If you just say, all right, I'm gonna go with you, and you let that allow that to happen, yeah, that's on you. That's on you, homie.
Yeah, but the second part of that is that a sign of for the streets mentality? Meaning, Dinah knows she shouldn't be out without a senior. So how is she out without a senior? You know, she had to move like without permission. Nobody told her to go out there. So she moved without her seniors accompanying her. So I'm thinking, like, I always think, like, I'm thinking in line with Sister Deidre. Excuse me, Sister Yaffe had said earlier, in terms of, it's not one person's fault. But she did what she did. But I'm wondering, like, how did she get from under the other sisters? In terms of, you got 2 wives and their servants, and you outside studying the ops, trying to be like them and succeeding.
Okay, I think what time do people hang out? Like if I'm looking at somebody going out, they want to chill and do all of this, that's usually after hours. So these servants could have been asleep, and she just snuck out and went and studied these women.
But her brothers were working, so that means they should have been working.
Good point. Yeah, it ain't after hours.
Maybe they were
Went out and
working the grave.
She knew it was unrighteous for her to be uncovered, and she still went out there on her own. She knew better.
Right. So then I would say that's a sign. That is a sign for the streets mentality. Absolutely. If somebody knows I'm out here moving around and I'm uncovered and I'm not supposed to be out here, then yeah, that's a sign that this person is for the streets.
Yeah, she was for the streets. And the streets claimed her. She was redeemed. She was redeemed by the streets. I think any of her relatives were injured unalive during the revenge attack.
Yes. I'm going to say yes. And injured doesn't mean necessarily physically being injured. Somebody can psychologically be injured. You can lose sleep. You can have anxiety attacks. Now, you can have panic attacks over something that's happening, of how you're going to proceed and how you're going to move. So I'm going to say you put somebody in a position where it's more than just defending honor. Now it's a whole psychological attack that one would have to go through before they have to even start to move. So I'm going to say yes. It puts somebody at risk and in harm's way when somebody steps out of there, because then now everybody has to scramble to see how I'm going to figure out how I'm supposed to defend this.
And they were.
I'm going to say yes as well. Like, I'm thinking, like, even if I'm in a weakened state, like, down here hurts, but I'm still grabbing my sword. Like, I ain't going down with her. I'm leaving it with something. So I don't think it was a complete wash in terms of when Simeon led those people to attack, or when they led the attack on those people. I don't think they got out. I wouldn't have assumed that they got out unscathed.
Yeah.
And let's say, I'm sorry, Coach Yaffe, were you about to say something?
No, I was just, I was agreeing, and I was just thinking, like, I just went back to the original, like, all of that hurts the tribe. And I was just thinking, like, how do you keep the tribe protected from, I guess it's the same thing you asked, Master Manuel, like, how do you keep the tribe protected from these things occurring?
Chief had said a little down the line, too, that Dinah might have been more Jezebel than anything else. So that's what I was wondering earlier in terms of, are there some children that are just lean towards wickedness? Like, are there some children that no matter how much you give them principles, they still want to go out there and see what's in that dark, shadowy place?
I think about something Chief pointed to in terms of her, Dinah, going out to see or greet the daughters of the land, and it being connected to goddess worship. Because what we see happening in chapter 35 is actually Yaakov having to go to Bethel, and there being like a purge of all of the, what do you call it, like false deities and idols and so on from his household. And I think one of the wives actually sat on idols early on in one of
Rachel,
the right?
Rachel,
exactly. So, like the question now becomes, is she following after her mother?
No, that's not her mother.
Not her mother, but then something in the household is influencing her to now seek a deity outside of her household. Pardon. I just wondered that because, like we have to take chapter 34 along with 35. And in 35, what we see is the house being purged of idols and other things. So the pointing toward the goddess worship just made me think that there is a connection between the two.
Maybe that is the point, like the idea of like you are of your father, and she had the idols because she stole them from her father, Laban. Laban was, he worshipped idols, like that's why they were in the house. So I wonder, like, does that Jezebel spirit come from whatever was in that bloodline, which goes back to like us being mindful of like who we marry and like what we mingle, who and what we mingle with. Like, yeah, Rachel and Leah became a part of Yaqub's household, but they still, they had, because they also had their little rivalry thing going on. And in that same comment, Obad says like her existence was a product of trickery. I think it was Leah who was conceived after they had the whole mandrake exchange. Well, let me, and they kind of bartered for his lingam without his permission. I think that was the conception of Leah, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah.
The conception of Leah or?
I'm sorry, Dinah. Dinah. Sorry.
Okay.
It kind of just goes back to like, this is why Anu only mate with Anu, and you're supposed to keep the bloodline pure. Like this story is like see what happened. All the chaos, and for those who may be watching and like wonder like, why that's important.
Yeah, but it also lets us know too, like there's more to it than an operation. Like if you say you're Anu, then because she's technically a child of Israel,
Mm-hmm.
she still does this wickedness, so it has to do with like the culture and your obedience to the culture. Not just saying, well, I'm inside, y'all. I went through your orientation. I'm inside, so I'm good. I can chill out. It's still a matter of doing that work and making sure that what's in you is gonna come through that child. No matter what you claim, it is gonna be in that child.
Mm.
Man, I'm thinking even if I'm sorry. Go ahead. The coach is recording. I know.
I wasn't gonna say. I was looking at the comment like, oh man.
Oh, okay. It looked like you got to say something. I'm thinking like, let's say you get into a sword fight with this dude over because she went out and did this, and you lose your arm. Was it worth you losing your arm for her actions?
Nah.
Like, right? How can you repay me for this arm that I only got one left? I only got one arm now because you wanted to step out and look and be with somebody else. I just don't see it worth it, man. Like, give me my 50 shekels, man. Run the 50 and let's just move on and be done with it. Because it's already there and it just removes all of the gray area to me.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. Those laws are there. They make things a lot more simple because what she did caused a lot of confusion.
But could they apply the law though? Because it was not great. So how could they actually apply the law in that instance?
She wasn't promised to nobody. That's true. But they ain't. I think I see what you're saying in terms of it not being great.
Mm-hmm.
But he still took the daughter without no one's permission. But what does the law say about that? Because he asked for permission afterwards.
Yeah.
That's why they took revenge.
Right.
I'm saying the law still stands because she laid with him. So after that, she's no longer a virgin. So what is supposed to happen now, moving forward? With how is he supposed to make sure that she gets a rightful husband when she done went and did something that she ain't got no business doing?
Yeah, and my honestly with me, I would have just said, knowing that law now, he put that law up, give me the 50 shekels. Consider it the dowry. If you asking what I need to do, like you offering me your daughters, like I don't want your daughters. I didn't even want my daughter to be with y'all. But I guess she was there because she wanted to be one of them.
Yeah.
She was plotting on homie. I'm telling you, man.
But she could be one of them. Give her
Yeah.
a few shekels, and we ain't gotta kill nobody.
Right? Like I said, that's for the streets mentality. When you step out uncovered and knowing that you're supposed to have somebody with you to make sure that you don't get into something that you ain't got no business getting into. Or just making sure that if something pops off, you still have protection. But because you don't want to do that, you did your own thing.
Yeah, but even with the first contact thing, like with the comment that's on the screen, like wicked females scheme on rulers. So even with her conception is a product of trickery. This was a problem from day one. So like what I was asking earlier, like, are there some children who are destined to be that way? And this kind of answers it, because her conception was foul. Like, she was conceived in really foul circumstances. So how else could she have turned out?
Yeah, but so was King Solomon.
And look how he turned out.
But that was on his own. That was on his own. So then now we're talking about so you're saying then there's no free will.
I'm not saying there's no free will, but I am saying you gotta watch that one extra careful. You gotta keep a close eye on that one, because it's like if I mix 5 batches of Kool-Aid and someone put salt and sugar in one, like, are you gonna try how much sugar you gotta put in that one to get it to taste like Kool-Aid and not like salt? It's like, yeah, be careful with that one. That one got some salt in it. Even though I made it a little sweet, it still got some salt in it because someone poured the wrong thing inside there.
Now you're making me think of the book that I didn't finish it though, so maybe y'all did. It was The Lotus. And it starts talking about how this flower comes out of the mud and how long it takes, and it goes through this whole journey. I didn't finish it, so I can't. Yeah, matter of fact, I recant everything I said because I didn't finish the book. So let me stop. But I think I can't say that people are destined for something and they're not making any of these choices that is just something that's just going to automatically turns out this way. I don't see it like that.
Would it be that they do have certain leanings based on what led to, like, what went into their conception or what happened between their parents, or who their parents were?
You can, but there's a saying. I mean, society or people can predict, but really only you can decide. Now, somebody could say too, though, that of the 5 choices that somebody may have, these are already predetermined choices. So there's really not picking those choices because it was already laid out for you. However, I would say though that there is. You have to make the decision of what choice that you want to start going down, and greed starts to take over somebody, or fame, like people say, is the most addictive drug, or I just want to be seen or be in the limelight, or whatever the case may be, that starts to take over somebody's mind, which therefore then they make a choice and a decision to go in that direction.
Okay, so even if both my parents were like klepto, even though I'm walking past easy pickings, my hands might start shaking, but I still have the choice to keep walking.
Because then one could look at that and be like, well, what if you were the one to clean up your bloodline? That's
what I'm saying. Like, even if I have those inklings, I could still decide to keep on walking. It's a matter of decision, regardless of leanings.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay.
She schemes her way into a bed the same way her mother Leah schemed into Yaqub's bed. Yep. She get it from her mama.
I mean, but again, you can see the decision and I think that's key with the decision that he made after he found out she did what she did. that he still was like, well, let my sons come back, as opposed to handling it right there. So then how did he handle it with his own mother, that now that energy is still existing in his house?
Mm-hmm. I don't see any evidence of him handling it. I just see him responding to what his sons did. He kept his mouth shut up until then.
Right, which tells me then he's reacting and he's actually not responding with ability, being responsible, but he's just reacting to whatever is happening, as opposed to standing up and saying, you know, she may not like me, she may be angry, it may cause a little drama or friction in the house, but this is what it is that we're doing. He kind of just letting it go, and because he let it go, then somebody started doing what their mama did.
Mm-hmm. Or also, like, what else can I get out of this? Oh, how can I milk them for what they did? If he was in this greed mode, he could just be looking for what he can get out of it as payment. And maybe he was waiting for the sons to add to it, but they didn't do that. Like I said, they saw past his greed. He's like, nah, you got to do this. And we not even really being honest with that.
Okay, so I brought up ATL earlier. Oh, I'm sorry. You're still speaking.
I was just going to say, like, because as it was mentioned earlier, he never even stepped in to correct them, to say what was supposed to be done. He just went along with it.
Right. I was thinking in terms of that movie ATL, again, when they found out the little brother was selling drugs. Mm-hmm. And he was like, you know, now, regardless of how you may feel about it, that boy's going to do what he's going to do. And a little bit of extra cash around the house wouldn't hurt nobody. You know, I'm wondering if the big-eyedness was leading him towards that, because it was like, you're going to ruin my reputation amongst the other nations around here. You know, you're going to cause my name to stink. You know, so I'm sticking to it's not one person's fault, but she did choose what she did.
Mm-hmm.
Like she said, she didn't end up getting taken by the town stable boy.
She did. No. She did. She did. That's in her blood, from her granddaddy on down. The trickery is there.
So considering they slew all the men and took Dinah, do you think it is a benefit to their tribe to have Dinah, a liability, back into the family or the household, or would it have been better for her to stay under the ownership of who bought her?
You didn't pay for it yet. You went for a test.
Well, who she chose? Because she chose up, I guess.
She did.
I mean, in her mind, I'm just saying, in her mind.
You're a prince, Mama. You're a prince.
Right. I don't want none of these Hebrew boys. I want him.
Well, maybe they really had the same if she went and did something like that. Maybe she wasn't, you know, supposed to be a part of the tribe of Israel. Maybe she should have been like banned, like, okay, you know, stay over there, and you showing that you're more allegiant to that.
Right. With that, I would agree with Aki Zach. Dinah gone now, because you're right. What can they do with her? Mm-hmm. What, you know, she don't make it. What happened that she don't make it? She got to go. Like, it doesn't mean that the anger isn't there, and, like, you know, even if but if they killed all the men, they had to take her, because then she's just sitting there. Like, so they kind of, like, messed it up for her too. But because they're like, oh, well, should we leave her of a prostitute? But now you can't do nothing with her. She, like, who's gonna want that? And he wasn't even one of us. Who wants that?
Hey, what they say?
I don't know. I'm wondering if maybe, I know the mom wasn't around, but I'm wondering if maybe the mom gave her the advice to go and do, like, hey, this is what you do. This is how you score you know, a prince. And maybe Maybe that's like an undertone or something that was happening in the background that wasn't said.
Could
So
be.
maybe
Doors
that's
that
just a
didn't
part
stop
of.
her.
Could be.
Hmm.
She did it with her dad. It was a whole surprise in the dawning on the wedding.
You did what? With who? Where?
It could have been, but honestly, I don't care. She did that, and it was like this. It's like if this was an example. I don't remember what show this was in, but yo, if I'm a store owner and you now take the drink out of the store, right? And all of a sudden, let's say he didn't want her. Let's say, because this could have been possible. Like, you know what? We had our fun, but that's it. Do you now return that store with the Snapple Pop unpopped? I can't sell this again. Hey, this your drink, homie. Regardless of whether or not you want the drink or not, this drink belongs to you, and the price is 50 shekels. So you gotta run the 50, and then whatever you do with the drink after that is on you. But that's it. It is what it is. Because here's the deal: if I put that back on the shelf, and somebody picks it up, they're gonna be like, "Why this top popped?" Like,
Oh,
hold
well,
on,
you
man.
see what had happened was she was
Right.
on the corner and someone picked her up.
Nah. Hey man, this store sells dirty products. And then it becomes the whole thing. Don't get any of your stuff from this store. They got nasty stuff in there where people use it and put it back. No. That's where I am. That's what I got to say about that.
See that? There was no hollering. If he had not fallen in love with her, we don't know if she would have told anyone.
Right.
No, then she would have been just lying about her body count.
Just yeah. Well,
Yeah, I was.
So, the verdict is she for the streets.
I was virgin of the. Oh, right.
Hey, I'm talking about biblical time, brother. Biblical time.
If you didn't jump in on this build or share anything in the chat, please, after the build ends, after the live ends, just add something to the chat, add something to the build. Maybe share some sort of biblical scripture or reference that you thought about that connected to this evening's share. I know it didn't seem like it, but we wanted to make a connection to tribe, so look for some of Chief's previous builds and insights on tribe. There are a few under the Annual Life Global Ministries YouTube channel, so check some of those out. And just add your thoughts. Add your thoughts to the chat after the build. This was a great build this evening, and we're going to get ready to close out. If you have any last thoughts or any last questions, go for it. Akoti Yafe, maybe you could play some songs for us to close us out.
Well, I have a question, because we were talking about the story in biblical times, but I guess I'm guessing a critical question would be like, how does this translate to modern times, right? We see this, I think we would see it a lot, but can you share examples, even if you do at the end share it in the chat, how this has translated to modern times, this scenario or situation? I think it does.
It depends on what your culture is. I would immediately go back to that. In Babylonian culture, anything goes. If you sleep with someone, they're in rotation. It's not like Akizak, like virgins or bust. It's like, oh, you're not a virgin? Good. That means you ain't got no excuse to not give me it.
And yeah,
I think Master Menelik spoke of, is one going to, without a shadow of a doubt, buy in to the culture and not just try to take parts and pieces of it that they think is what is going to be relevant for me. But at the same time, I'm going to still step out and go do these other things and then try to apply again when I make a whole mess of it, then try to apply or try to call and talk to Chief and say, yeah, I'm trying to get in Osiris because I went out and I did X, Y, and Z. And then try to apply some of these things when now the person that you're talking to or whatever it is that you did, they have no culture. So I think when we start talking about, even when we say a tribe, is one have you bought in and saying, this is what I'm about and this is what I'm going to do on a day in, day out basis. This is what I stand on. And it's not a matter of me now, bending on certain areas and corners of, like so many people, if they even get into E5, I'm going to get readings. I'm going to do all these other things just to get what I want. But at the same time, no, when it says the culture says and dictates this, I'm not doing all of that though. I'm only going to do this little thing. And then wondering why your life still looks like hell and scunny. Well, then now you have nobody to blame but yourself. Either you get in line and get underneath the umbrella, or you're going to get rained on and then jackals are going to tear your butt up. That's just, like to say, get down or lay down.
Yeah. And one last question for the women, and again, put it in the chat because we will close down a little bit. It's that idea of like, well, I just want to see what they're doing, or like, have you followed the pack before, or have you schemed to like, oh, well, I want to get to the top, and like, did it lead you to a place where you put other people in danger because you wanted what you wanted, or you thought it was like okay to be, scheming demon, poison, like, did you think it was okay to be that scheming demon, without any consequence to anyone else? And then even for like any of the brothers that want to answer, like, how, in which situations were you Yakub? Which situation were you the brother, like, or brothers? And how that affected your family or community. Yeah, I would say that.
Like Chief had said too, it's on the screen. Weak culture will not protect you, and how this is, this and the story of Uriah, it speaks to how if your culture is weak, you eventually lose everything, maybe even your life. So you could also like really consider, like, do I have a weak culture currently? Whatever it may be, whatever you're doing right now, is it a weak culture, or do you have any culture at all? Or are you sort of walking around claiming to have an umbrella, but it has a bunch of holes in it? It's really
right. And if you have a weak culture, do you even have a tribe to claim you or to claim?
No, that's when you just claim whatever. You identify as whatever.
Right.
Whatever I feel like I'm being led by whatever is cool at the moment. Then that's what I'm gonna roll with, as opposed to, again, no, this is what we do and this is what we don't do, because I know there's so many people that's coming behind me that's gonna be affected by this. I know there's so many people that will be affected by my decisions right now, especially if I say that I'm in a community. So, or if I'm part of a tribe. So it's a matter of, is one on a day in and day out basis saying that they're committed to it and actually going to follow the laws, rules, and statutes and commandments that this community has laid out? Or am I going to do my own thing and try to cut corners? And then when stuff falls through, then I'm going to try and say, oh, no, I'm here and I just need a little help. But now you're putting everybody else in the way, in harm's way. It's like, no.
Good thing.
Yeah. Leave your comments.
Yeah.
Continue to build. The builds don't have to stop when the cameras turn off. Too.
Right.
And you don't have to leave comments. You can get on the screen.
That's true. Absolutely true.
Yeah. Say you don't got to stay on here though. If I feel like I get on there, I got to stay on there the whole time. You can say what you need to say, and then we can build on it, and then we can move on. Stop being so scared. Oh, I was just sitting back because I don't know how things really work and operate. Or, I'm just trying to make sure I get it because I really don't know before I get it. All of that is BS, man. Get on here and start to speak up. Hold your own. Golly.
Do it skirt. Do it skirt.
Everyone.
I wanted to hop on before we close out. I know Master mentioned not having a weak culture and being able to protect yours. And I just want to throw it out there that there is a youth ministry that is
Uh-oh. I think she's back.
and the moment I decided to say something.
Oh, wow.
Man. Just follow the I Knew Youth Ministry page. They are all about restoring tribe. All right, I'm done.
Put it in the chat too.
I think it's the I Know Youth on Instagram.
Yes, I Knew Youth Ministry. Y'all follow them. They're all about restoring tribe, and it's not weak. It's not watered down. So if you want some, come get some. All right.
Thanks. Thanks everyone for the bill. Shabbat Shalom. We'll see you in the forward in a few hours for the Shabbat build. Leave a comment, as Akoti Morea did say. Like, leave a comment. Thank you for the comments. Science temples. Thank you, Zaya. Like, put something in the comments so we can, affect that algorithm. All right. Give thanks to everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا